How many Monday mornings have you woken up and thought, why the heck am I still working? We've all been there, but here's the deal. At some point, that nagging thought needs serious attention. Another year might add a few more dollars to your bank balance, but time is not on your side. Eventually, you've got to take the plunge. How do you know when it's the right time? When you can answer yes to these 7 questions. It's your favourite Scotsman here again, and let's cut to the chase and start with number 1. Is your health suffering? You can have all the money in the world, but without your health, what's it worth? Some of you have probably sat at a desk for 10, 20, 30 years or more. Your back's killing you, you've got high blood pressure, you've got sleep issues, you're a touch overweight, and you're struggling with stress and anxiety. Is it really worth it? Do you want to be able to play with your grandkids in retirement? Do you want to be active and capable of doing what you've dreamed of? If your health isn't where you want it to be, then maybe now is the time to start thinking about stepping away. Doing some regular exercise, eating properly, getting your vitamin D, and channeling your time and energy towards your health. If you answered yes to this question, then it's time to move on to question number 2. Have you been putting life on hold? The easiest way to not do something is to talk about it, or so my nan tells me. Are you one of those people who has a list of things that you want to do in this world, but always puts it off and says you'll do it in retirement? Well, I've got news for you. Tomorrow is not a guarantee. It's far too easy to fall into this trap. Everybody thinks they're going to have more time. My family back home in Scotland runs a funeral home that I was around from a very young age. And I've seen my fair share of tragedies. Don't rob yourself of today only to push things to some unknown date in the future. If you've got it all figured out and can work at the same time, great. But unfortunately, in today's world, that doesn't happen very often. If you've been dreaming about travelling or just taking time to enjoy your hobbies, now is the time. Moving on to the third question for today. Is it impossible to work less? You may have heard of the 4-day work week, which has become more common in recent times. This, or a reduced role, may be something you want to bring up with your boss. It could be the same position, or even an entirely different position or company. It can be a nice way to segue into retirement. And in a lot of cases, if you've got significant assets saved already, you would be surprised about even a small amount of part-time income can increase the longevity of a retirement plan. Maybe you don't need to stay in the high-paying, high-stress job you're in just now. If that's not an option, then consider doing less. Is your company truly going to look back on all those early mornings and late nights you spent? I'd be willing to bet there's a good chance it won't even cross their minds. Very quick break here. If you have concerns about your retirement, click on the link below to book a retirement strategy call with me today. Okay, back to it. If you answered yes to it being impossible to work less, then this brings us nicely into question number 4. Are you emotionally prepared? The emotional side of retirement is one that is not spoken about enough. For 20, 30, 40 years or more, you've done the same thing every day. You wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you eat your breakfast, you go to work, you come home at night, you go to bed, and then you wake up the next day and do it all again. Work has formed part of your identity. The social interactions with colleagues have become part of your daily life. Then it all stops. The workplace moves on. Your former colleagues are busy with their own lives, and the reality that you aren't as special as you thought you were can be very hard for a lot of people to take. Depression is common amongst retirees. Make sure you're as ready for the emotional side of retirement as you are for the financial side. So, if you answered yes to this question, the 5th question for you is very closely tied. How will you spend your time? Part of being emotionally ready is having a clear plan of what you will do with your time. Consider this. If you're currently 60 years old, it's likely that you have less than 1,000 weeks of healthy, active life remaining. If you're over 60, you've got even less time. In an ideal world, you should plan for the non-financial elements of your retirement in your final few years of work so you can ensure that you have a retirement filled with all the things you want to do. Are you going to spend your retirement on the couch watching mind-numbing television? Or, glued to YouTube watching some Scotsman? I'm definitely not that interested, so there's probably a good chance that this will lead to unhappiness and depression, just like we've covered. A better option would be to look for fulfillment and purpose with your retirement. What is it that truly makes you happy? And how can you go about doing more of these things that truly make you happy? whether it's volunteering, learning a new language, taking up a new sport, travelling, exploring your spirituality, just spending quality time with a family. Make sure you know how you will spend your time and who you will spend it with. And this ties us in nicely to the next question you must answer yes to. Do you wish you had more time for family and loved ones? Most of us do, unless of course you don't really like your family, then that's another story. All jokes aside, work can take away a lot of time from you over the years. You may have missed family events. You have more than likely lost touch with friends. You can have anything, but you can't necessarily have everything. There's only 24 hours in a day, and if you're feeling guilty about not spending enough time with those that you love the most, then it's time to start considering retiring sooner rather than later. Like we talked about earlier, tomorrow is not guaranteed. Are you going to wake up wishing you spent more time with your friends and family, or you spent more time at work? So, if you answered yes to spending more time with friends and family, the next question for you is a big one. Do you have enough? It's a question in everybody's mind. Nobody wants to run out of money. It's a natural fear. You may have answered yes to all 6 previous questions, but if you don't have your financial house in order, it's going to be very hard to retire. Under no circumstances should you hand in your notice without running the numbers first. If you haven't already, click on the link in the pinned comments to book your retirement strategy call today. Together we can figure out if you have enough. Even just a second opinion before you take the plunge will be worth its weight in gold for the peace of mind. So, if you answered yes to these 7 questions, it's time to have a conversation with your boss and enjoy life. Oh, and I might just have the perfect video for you lined up next.